his daydream with all his fantasies. No, look at the ladies.
I'm Tom Collins, I'm 23, I'm a musician from North Wales.
Who were your musical influences growing up?
Growing up, probably this is going to be a bit of a cheese fest now, but I didn't really have much of an influence from mum and dad, so it was. I don't know if you remember the Pop Party CDs.
Mm.
Yeah, it was. I remember listening to like Busted and McFly, and I'd probably say, growing up, they were the bands that I wanted to be in and wanted to listen to. But I wasn't like, as a kid, I really wasn't into music, to be honest, until I was about like 12, 13. That's when I started actually listening to more bands and that. But yeah, I'd probably say them as a starter.
Is there a main thing that really made you want to get into music?
I think, especially in like late high school years, I used to watch my mate's band they used to be like a cover band. And I used to watch them and think, oh, do you know what? I'd love to get up and do that. And I think that it's kind of sprung from there, really. But the funny thing is, I've never done music at school, so I never did it at like GCSE or A level. It kind of came later on, really, because I was 17 when I picked up the guitar, so I was quite a late bloomer, if you like. And it just kind of spiraled from there because I knew once watching them, I wanted to get up and do it. And then yeah.
Do you have a lot of like family and friends that support you doing what you want to do? Were they quite supportive of what you wanted to do with music?
Yeah, I mean, when I started gigging, because to like my mates in school, it was a bit kind of like, whoa, do you know what I mean? Because I never sang or nothing. I didn't know I could sing or nothing. And I've never had lessons or anything like that. And I've got no like theory background to music, so I don't know like my scales and stuff like that. It's all just come from like picking it up, watching things, and I think when I started, my dad more than ever was so supportive, because it was something that he followed me with, especially when I was doing a lot of gigs, because my dad's quite the opposite to me. When he was younger, he was playing rugby and doing motocross racing and stuff like that, and that wasn't me. And he's been a mechanic since he was 16, so he's always worked with cars. He's quite a manual worker, and I suppose I'm a little bit different because I've always got an interest in music. I like football. I'm probably more of a people person. I like to perform and stuff like that. So, and I think for my dad to support me like he does, means the world. Do you know what I mean? It's something that it brought me closer to my dad, really. And my mum's always been dead supportive as well. But yeah, I'm very grateful, to be honest, because I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for them, and they give you the confidence to push on. Because I think sometimes it's easy, like especially last year with the lockdowns and stuff, it was easy to just kind of throw it out the window because I wasn't gigging, which was my main source of like that was what got me into music, gigging. Do you know what I mean? That was my main thing, and I was struggling to write songs and record and stuff like that. And I had no motivation, but my mum and dad have always been there trying to push me on and just say, don't give up because you've got a talent.
So can you tell us a little bit about your new single and a bit about your music?
The new single is a double-sided single, and it's 2 songs that I wrote last year. But one of them I've played at live streams on Facebook and stuff like that, and so it has been heard. But the other one, the B side, if you like, no one's heard that yet. So it's kind of just about it's closing a chapter, because I know last year was tough for everyone, and it's kind of just like how I got through it and being positive through it, and because a lot of things happened last year for everyone, and I think it is kind of just closing that chapter and moving on to something else and having a bit of closure with it.
When it comes to writing your music, do you write more about things that have happened to you or stories?
Usually it is personal experiences, because I find that the most comfortable, really, because obviously it's you, isn't it? It's quite easy to express yourself that way. And a lot of my like early songs that I haven't really released, that's kind of where it's revolved around. But the EP that I released, which was my first release, That was actually a dissertation project at university. So I did music production in Edge Hill University in up in Ormskirk, and we were set like a task basically with the dissertation to do like a project, and we had the option to write and record an EP. So I was like, that's a no-brainer, isn't it? So the EP is actually revolved around narrative in Greek myths. So each song in the EP is a modern narrative of a Greek tale. Each one's got like a theme. So all I did was grab the theme and rewrite the myth in a way, but in a modern form. So it's more relatable to present time, basically. So that was really challenging, and it was a good way of songwriting, really, because I've never done it like that before. I've never set myself a deadline and a task where I've got to write about this. And the funny thing was, I had to do it in about 8 months. So I had to be happy with the 4 songs, and they had to make sense, obviously, if you like. But it wasn't something I thought I was going to release. It was until I heard them in the studio, I thought, oh, they sound quite good, actually. So then I thought, why not? I'll just release them. So yeah, that was a cool little challenge, if you like.
Can you describe your music in 3 words?
That's a really tough question. I don't like describing my music because I like other people to describe it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, do you know, sometimes when you set yourself a genre, you should never set yourself a genre because that limits your range, if you like, in your songwriting. I quite like it when people comment on my stuff rather than, I don't know, really. I suppose it's quite nostalgic, some of it. Like I've wrote songs like about times in school and stuff like that. So there's always a touch of nostalgia in there, which I love. I think everyone does, don't they? Everyone loves a bit of nostalgia. So yeah, that'll be one of the words. But yeah, I don't know about the others.
How do you actually find the writing process of making a song?
I think it's more of a back and forth. It's either a back and forth thing or it's a one hit. Like I'll just do it in half an hour because most of the songs I've wrote, I'll just sit down and it just comes to me. And sometimes it's difficult because you sat there strumming your guitar thinking, yeah, nothing's coming to my head. But I know a lot of musicians like write the lyrics first, and I do it the other way around. I write the chords while I find the chords, and then I'll just write like a melody and lyrics around that, really. But yeah, usually it'll come in no time or no time at all.
You say obviously you've done a few gigs already. Do you have a favourite one that you've done so far?
Yeah, so most of my gigs are pub gigs, really. So they're nothing like spectacular, but I've been doing it for about 5 years now. And I did one with a band. So it was the guy who produced my music. He was on lead guitar, and I made a bassist and a drummer. And it was to promote the EP in 2019. So that feels like ages ago now. Everything feels like a lifetime ago because of this COVID. But we did that in Manchester I think it was called Night and Day Cafe. Yeah, that's what it was called. And it was a really nice place, really funky place. So I'd probably say that's my favourite because I got to play as a band, and it was with different support acts as well, and different bands, and meeting them, and a different vibe to what I usually do. And it's in Manchester where music's huge, isn't it? So probably say that one.
Do you feel though that it's a little bit tougher to be a solo artist in the music scene?
I think it has its pros and its cons, really, because ideally I'd love to be in a band. I used to be in a band, uni. It only was temporary, really, because I think the others kind of lost their commitment to it and just didn't want to go ahead with it. But I used to gig with another lad, so we used to be like an acoustic duo. We were doing that for 2 years. But I think it's hard because you've all got to want the same thing. And for me, being a solo artist beforehand was like, I couldn't wait to be in a band. And once I got in it, I didn't realise how difficult it is because, like you say, you've all got to want the same thing. You've all got to be on the right track and, organising to meet and stuff like that and have time. So for me, at the moment anyway, I'm quite happy on my own because after doing all that, it's given me the confidence to go and gig on my own again and do things differently. And I think you only have to depend on yourself, really. You've only got yourself to tell off. So, yeah, I think, and especially in these difficult times at the moment, it's obviously hard to keep a band going, in my opinion, because you can't really meet up. You know, I mean, we're very lucky that we've got the internet and stuff like that, so we can send like demos and stuff like that that people can work on. But yeah, I think you probably best staying solo really at the moment. But it's each to their own.
So your area that you're in, do you feel there's a music scene around and the kind of music community that helps artists like yourself to get out there and get your music heard?
There is somewhat a community. I mean, because I live in like a small, I live in a village next to, I don't know if you've heard of Flint before.
Yeah.
So it is quiet and it's dead and there isn't much going on. There's not many like big music people really, but the guy that produced my music, he has recently started taking over with this record label. Well, in the last couple of years, he started building on that, but he used to play live gigs all the time. I think he went on tour with Pete Doherty years and years ago. But he focuses on a lot of the production now. So before everything happened, before the lockdowns and all that, he used to set like open mics up and, you know, gather people from the county to come to different pubs and do like their own set and stuff like that. So in that aspect, there is some kind of music community, if you like, but I think it's quite shy, if you like.
How have you coped with keeping the connection between you and the fans? Because obviously you've not been able to do any gigs or anything like that.
Last year, I didn't really have many fans, so like I've always been dependent on my friends and stuff like that I've had on Instagram and Facebook. But I had about 100 odd followers on Instagram. But back in the summer, I decided to start doing TikTok, which I used to look down on quite a bit because I know people do a lot of dances and they do the miming, and you kind of just look at it and think, no, I can't do all that. So it kind of just swung upon me, I'll try and do a bit of music on it. And then from there, I started building a bit of an audience. And then ever since, it's grown in the last 6 months, really. So I think it's kind of motivated me a bit because I've had a lot of praise from people and people are requesting covers. So that's kind of kept me busy. And now I've got like a bit of a schedule going. I can do a bit of that. I can start doing a bit of recording. I'm doing my covers. That's kind of helped me keep going. And it's just finding content really to entertain people. And it is difficult, especially when you can't gig and go out and do stuff like that. But yeah, it's just trying to keep going, keep active.
Everything's really gone, like you say, digital over the last year to 18 months because of obviously what's been happening. Do you find it's more difficult to put something online and go digital, like doing like a Facebook live video or like say a TikTok live? Do you feel that's a bit more difficult than what it would be to actually go out and do a gig?
That's a really tough question, to be honest. To be honest, in the last few years, from gigging and going out and meeting people, I've gained a lot more confidence because as a kid, I was a little bit more shy. I was a bit more reserved. So it's brought me out of my comfort zone, and doing gigs is I practice and practice and practice. And I've come, like a lot of people say to me, oh, you've come on so well. Like you're so much more like, you know, there's more energy about you. You know, your voice has got better and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, I much prefer to do gigs because live streams are quite boring because obviously you don't see people, you can't react with people properly. But I probably would say gigs are harder because you're out in the flesh, aren't you? And you haven't got much to say. If you're at home, you could set up a mic and put effects on and stuff like that, I suppose. I mean, you can probably do that in gigs anyway. But no, I think with live streams as well, especially with all the social media age, you can get a lot of criticism as well and stuff like that. So you can get trolls and stuff, can't you? So I don't know. I think it depends what you prefer, really.
What is the main dream for you in your music?
It sounds really lazy, this, but I don't like to kind of like. I know I got asked the other day, what's my goals in music, and I don't like to set myself goals because I don't want to be like disappointed if you get me. So I think just to keep growing my audience and reaching out to people, I think if I'm going to dream big, it'd have to be playing a gig in a huge stadium, like, well, not even a huge stadium, somewhere like the Apollo in Manchester or something like that. I know that I'd be happy with that. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have to go any further, but to do that and hear people like sing my songs back to me, that must be like the best feeling in the world, really. That is the ultimate dream, I suppose. But I think I just want to keep growing my audience and keep releasing music and trying to connect with people, really.
Do you have a dream venue that you would like to play?
Like the Manchester Apollo is probably one of them, because I've seen a few bands there before. I mean, everyone wants to play like Wembley and the O2 and stuff like that. But I feel like I don't want to say that because it's just like, yeah, everyone says that. I don't know, probably the Apollo. It's because I've been there a few times and it's something I'd be like, wow, I'm actually up here now. Do you know what I mean? So, whereas Wembley, I think as well, I prefer like more intimate gigs, so like smaller venues. I just think they're much better than massive stadiums. Although you can have a great time at a stadium gig, don't get me wrong, as I've done. But I do prefer like the intimate gigs because you can connect with your fans a bit more, and I just think it's more, well, intimate.
This is a bit of a difficult one to really answer, but do you have any plans for 2021?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Apart from lockdown and everything like that.
Yeah, well, that's it. We just don't know, do we? We don't know where we're going to be in a year's time. But I think just to keep releasing music and maybe get more regular releases, so maybe every 3 months, perhaps, because it just keeps the fans. And I think as well, because I've gained a bit more of a following in the last couple of months, I think I can probably get people a bit more on board in my music as well. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to doing that, really.
Thank you very much anyway.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, cheers.
All right. See ya. Bye.